Hello and welcome to day one of your Pilates and Psalms mat practice. This 6-day free cohort is to help you, if you already have a Pilates practice, a classical Pilates practice, and want to dive deeper or maybe refresh your foundations, or just practice along because it definitely will be rigorous enough if that's what you came for. B, if you have been practicing Pilates, but let's call it modern Pilates, we're seeing people utilizing methods that we once called circuit training or aerobics classes and labeling them Pilates. And so a lot of people are coming to the mat and they're a little bit confused about what Pilates purists are saying. So today you might find out a little bit about that. Joseph Pilates created a structured, formatted class that never changes. It does in the sense that there are levels of foundational, level 2, level 3, advanced. However, the overall arc of the class from beginning to end is the same with some either modifications if you are injured or pregnant or maybe just growing your strength in this space, or if you are brand new and we haven't yet graduated you into those intermediate and advanced exercises, you won't necessarily see them in the practice. Today, because this is an open level class, you will see a little bit of level 1 and intermediate, but not necessarily advanced, because this is open level and it is for everyone, but we are making sure we break down the practice for every single body, because no body left behind, no Pilates practitioner left behind here in Pilates and Psalms. So today we'll be doing the first half of the mat class together, but very broken down so that you understand how to access the practice. And I'll be pausing a little bit to talk about why things haven't felt right up until this point. Maybe you've been feeling more of this in your low back than you'd like to, and sometimes that's a good thing because our core isn't just this rectus right here where we see the six-pack. Well, the core is on the back body, it's on the side body. It actually, in some theories, runs from the inner ear to the inner knee, which you'll hear more about from me if you stay for more practices over time. For today's purposes, I want you to understand that A, the core is not just this strip of muscle right in the front of the body. B, you might have been hanging on in your hip flexors, which has been pulling on your low back, and that's why a lot of this hasn't felt right. I don't want to say necessarily not good, but not right. Or maybe you've just felt a little bit lost, a little bit left behind in classes. We don't want that for you anymore. We all really care. All of us who come to teaching really care about helping people, really care about you having the proper foundations so that when you come to our classes, you get the best out of it. You get to get out what you put in, and what you get to put in is what we have taught you. So if you practice somewhere far away from where I teach, it's not a problem. You can still use this in your practice, in your class, and if you have questions, you're certainly welcome to DM me on Instagram, leave a comment on YouTube, or if you check me out on Spotify, I have Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. There's a few more places where you can find the podcast in Audible only and still leave some questions for me to answer on a following episode. Let's start standing. For those of you who can't stand for any reason, or your knees are bothering you, your hips are bothering you, just observe this part. We can certainly tend to adjustments and modifications on getting onto the mat, but from a proper standpoint, we're going to stand at the top edge of the mat. Now, our Pilates stance is a little bit turned out. We're not going for ballet turnout. We're going for about 30 degrees, right? Nothing too big here, maybe 45, depending on your hip mobility, not your feet mobility, not your knee mobility, your hip. And maybe in another time and place, we'll talk about hip to knee to second toe tracking. But today, just know that's where it's coming from. We want to get you moving. And then from this point, let's just think about pushing down through the four corners of each foot and just gently zipping up your pubic bone to your navel, not tucking your pelvis a lot, but just a gentle zip up. And as you zip up, pull your thighs long. And then from there, let's genie the arms left over right. And I want you to push the bottom arm against the top and the top against the bottom, just to create a little bit of bracing here at the top of your core barrel in the back body. From there, peel up your right foot, step it not just behind, but a little bit across, and keep pushing up and down with your arms as you bend and lower. Now, if this is too shallow of a bend to go all the way to the mat for you, you can certainly step longer back and maybe even lean if that's a lot in your body. But if you're going ham with me today, push top to bottom and shallow that step and lower, lower, lower. Notice that front heel isn't peeling up until it absolutely has to, and no crashing to the mat. So if you want to pause and practice that a time or two, right and left, to balance your body, go for it. Today, we're going to release the back foot and then keep your press. You can even switch your arms right here and really stabilize in your center to take this front foot back and around and lower yourself down. Notice no crashing to the mat. And then let's take the feet out in front of us, hands by our sides. Make sure you're centered. You may not have lowered perfectly, that's okay. To lower onto your mat, from your hips to your armpit and all the way through the crown of your head, lift up. Reach your arms forward with your triceps down to the ground, thumbs to the ceiling, and let's hinge back. Pause. There's a lot of tendency for people to hang out in the outer thigh, this pocket muscle called the TFL, and then clients wonder why does this hurt after class? Well, you've been hanging out in this muscle. So imagine there's a little fist of your own right between your knees, because that is the same distance from right to left or left to right of your pubic bone, which means that is hip width for you. Hip width is not the skin, the outer edge of what you can visibly see. It's that measurement. So make sure your feet are that far apart, your knees are that far apart, and you're maintaining that as we hinge back. And then, for lack of a better term, tuck your butt. Did you see that little scoop that happened? So stay where you are, maybe sit up for a moment, observe. It's kind of like a little pelvic thrust. You can see that happen here. We want that little pelvic thrust, but it's not just happening and we're holding. It's going to happen and continue as if someone has little drawstrings right underneath the center of each glute and is pulling that towards your heels. So it's continuous, it's in perpetuity. So we're here together. We're reaching forward, we're tall in the side body, and we get that tuck sensation, and keep reaching your hip bones towards your heels. That's gonna move the low back down without us dumping into the spine. See that difference? This is pelvis, sort of the base vertebra moving, and this is dumping. So find that for yourself. Again, maybe pause and play with that. Moving on. We're reaching the tailbone through to the heels. We're maintaining that fist distance, and we're participating in the drag of the spine through to the heels by leaning a little bit into it. Pause here. Let's exhale and close the top of the ribs under the heart a little bit and lay all the way down. Let's draw our chin onto our chest. Just to know, this is not our first mover. Now, if you have a lot of neck problems and being curled up in crunches, traditional crunches in the gym is a little hard for you, I do invite you to keep a closed fingered palm and just flat back put that on the base of your head. Is my arm working? Yes, it's actually trembling a little bit. What I want to do is traction my head back a little bit and then push with my hand into my head. Not try and weigh my head back. Our arms are really strong. We use them all day long for all kinds of things. So there's that option, or there's hold your hand as if you have like half a grapefruit in it. And we place those fingers, again, right between the base of the head and neck and on the back of the head. And what we want to do is imagine that those fingers are trying to slowly push through mud or slowly push through something thick like clay. And that's not because the elbow's pulling forward. The elbow doesn't move the hand. The strength of the hand moves the hand. And when you push firm enough with the strength of your hand, your arm kind of loses having to do so much of the effort. And of course, your head is no longer pushing back or trying to strain to stay up. There's just a gentle curl in the cervical spine, which are the bones in your neck, and we're supported here. If you don't need that, we're going on. So the first move I want you to make is imagine you're bracing right here. Put your fingertips where the ribs separate, and so you can feel the bottom of your sternum, this breastplate bone, and right at the bottom of it, it separates and goes off to the side. Hopefully most of us watching this have seen a skeleton or a demo skeleton in a health class. And so where you feel those separate, maybe put your fingers right there, your palms on the outer edge of your ribs, your fingers there. Take a big inhale and feel your ribs come apart. And when you exhale, try and breathe, not so that you slide your hands together, but so that your ribs bring your fingertips together. Now, will they actually touch? No. But look up and do that again and watch how your ribs and your breath separate your hands and then bring them back together. Breathing in. And it's very subtle. Here we go. So that's what I mean when I say brace. And it's really not a holding, it's an ignition. It's a starting point. So some of us, I don't like to be a proponent of violence, but if you were bracing for a punch right there, you would exhale in the same way. So that's our first mover. So let's inhale together, arms at our sides, breathe in, and now exhale for the blow. Feel how if you keep that energy moving, even though you're still breathing but not widening and closing the ribs anymore, you could move that energy in to the back body and it draws you up. And now we can just gently lean our nose towards our navel or our pubic bone. From here, you should be on the tips of your shoulder blades. If not, maybe grab the backs of your thighs, pull a little to assist, and then arms back at your sides. Let's begin pumping those arms, and actually we're going to slap the mat. You're going to hear some noise over here. So it's, now notice that I'm not pumping little and really fast. It's a very nice 4 count, if you're a musician, timed beat. And it's breathing and beating. So let's start. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and pause. So let's talk for a moment about why we're doing this. You should already be feeling your core muscles very turned on. And every time you pump like this, now you won't always slap the mat, but we're doing this for demonstration. As you slap the mat, you're probably feeling more so than you would otherwise this constant sense of wanting to fall backwards or lay down a little bit. And with that sensation, this ignition of your upper core muscles, holding you, keeping you up. It's like the back wall of that muscle is working with the front compression to hold you in that space, and then that energy is sort of moving down the line, the wall of that muscle and all of your deeper core muscles to stabilize you in that space, while everything else in this action is fighting you. So you're not exercising for a still position, for a pose, for a photo of look at my six-pack. You're exercising in this particular movement for real life action, walking through the world, moving through spaces that have resistance that you have to work with or against from the inner mechanism, the way your body performs, and we want it to perform optimally. Let's try that again, and I'm going to give you a few more breathing cues. If you get tired, you have the hand on the head, you have the fingertip cue. We're going all the way to 10. If you noticed, the in breath is 5, the out breath is 5. That's a 10 count for 1 rep. And 10 of those, 10 times 10 is 100. I'll slowly incorporate leg maneuvers. I want you to think about whether or not these maneuvers are right for you as you go along. So here we are, breathing in. Let's brace or ignite and curl. Now begin pumping. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're breathing in and pumping the arms just over hip line, and breathing out and pumping and slapping. Continue. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, pull that belly button to the spine. As you breathe in this next time, maybe you lift the right leg. And as you breathe out, just hold. And in 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's exhale, lower that leg. Other side. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathing in. Breathing out. And lower. Good. Other side. Lift and lengthen. Hold in 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2. Lower that leg into on the other side. And exhale. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, hold. And release. 2 more. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing out. 1 more time. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And release. Hopefully, when you moved your legs, you didn't feel your pelvis curl or your knee didn't come past. You might have noticed, and back this video up if you need to, my knee did not come further past my hip line. Eventually, we'll work into our Pilates stance here, but for now, notice that only moving inside the hip socket and not bringing the pelvis with us kept us working in our core. You'll notice in a lot of gym exercises where maybe they have you do like a reverse crunch, there's this peeling in that isn't quite as effective, right? We're just sort of hanging on the joints of the spine leading into the pelvis in the back body to make that happen. Whereas if we were to move right to the edge of our range of motion before coming over the chest and then zip the pubic bone up to the navel, that's low pelvic floor core work. And that's excellent, and we'll see that in our practice together over time. But for today's purposes, I just want you to acknowledge that we only come to here. We don't bring it in here because this loses the efficacy of what's happening not only down below, but up above. It almost sort of forces you back, and not in the way that we're trying to experience with this pump that's fighting a downward, it's fighting gravity versus fighting weight placed on us with gravity. From here, we move into an exercise called the roll-up. So if you have trouble doing this, I'm going to give you a few modifiers. But the first one, we're stretching our legs forward, and maybe you can look down the line of your body and see, are my feet about a fist distance apart between my big toe mound? And we take the arms up right by the hairline. And from here, let's go ahead and reach back. Take a full body yawn stretch. And now it's the same mover, that ignition switch right there at the top of the rectus of the core. We exhale, bring the ribs together. And we're going to continue. So that same mover is pulling back. It's really moving the whole spine backward, which creates this curve. Notice the curve isn't here in my low back. I'm not just dumping and rolling. And I'm certainly not throwing my body forward because there's no front body core moving in and compressing the rest of the barrel of the core in that action. So we want that first mover. We want to keep reaching through the heels. And here's a few pieces that will help you build this over time. I have plenty of clients who are still struggling with getting up as slow as you saw me the first time. So let's have the arms back, reach really long, reach through the heels. And now push your heels into the mat as hard as you can. And you should feel the back of the thighs lift up a little bit. Maybe the knee feels like it rainbows from the ground. And let's just hold that for 3, 2, 1. Now, the front of your thighs are going to have to light up a little bit. Let's push the back of the thighs into the ground, the hamstring muscle. I think I'm going to get cramps today. This is a good way to break them up too. You just kind of pat that lactic acid out. Push the back of the thighs into the ground. The heels might float up for 3, 2, and 1. And now switch it again. Heels, 3, 2, 1. Switch it. Hamstrings, 3, 2, 1. One more time. Heels, 3, 2, 1. Hamstrings, 3, 2, 1. Let all of that go for a second. Just wiggle out your legs. Let your body be completely relaxed from the waist down. I'm going to count to 3, and when I do, I want you to try and do heels and hamstrings together. So heels into the mat, hamstrings into the mat, all at once, and we'll do that 3 times together. So arms overhead, we have that big reach, our fingers are glued together, our arms are long, reach through the heels, the toes, breathe in, and 1, 2, 3, heels and hamstrings, and let it go. Let's do that again, breathe in, 1, 2, 3, heels and hamstrings, and let it go. Boy, I got a solid cramp on this leg today. If you do too, I'm right there with you. All right, one more time. Relax, relax, and we're gonna hold after this and work towards our final exercise maneuver. So breathe in, relaxed, 1, 2, 3, heels and hamstrings. Now hold. Reach the arms long. From here, ignition switch. Now this muscle is moving the spine backwards, but not just backwards. So I like to make a metaphor of this, or an analogy of if you were receiving this blow, pushing through, and then that push through meets the back body, and we have vertebra right here. Where do those vertebrae get to go? Well, they can't go down because these guys are already as stacked as they can be, and we don't want compression. But we have a lot of space up here for continued movement or continued energy flow. So if this pushes the vertebra right at the center behind my heart, in my thoracic spine, sort of back and up, then all the other vertebrae above it have to also move up. And if they're moving up in this push from the front through to the back, that's going to create the curl, and then the up is going to create the stretch forward. Now that might land a little differently if I give you this nostalgia. A lot of us as kids maybe got a turtleneck stuck on our head and needed mom's help getting it off. And can you remember reaching like this for mom to pull it over your head, and you were just trying to make your body, the space right under your arms as narrow as possible so that she could just get it off. It was too tight right behind your arms and on your neck, and you needed that help. It's that sort of sensation. Another one that I like to put in there is your arms and legs are like the bun, and the air between is the patty, and you don't want it to be a lopsided burger. So we want this rounded edge of the patty, and then even layers of the bun. So we aren't hinging at the hips. This isn't a low back. This isn't about flexion or really pulling on the low back. This is about moving the spine in a way that creates as much space in the back of the vertebra as possible. Throughout Pilates, we are making space between the vertebra, whether it's the posterior, the back side, the anterior, the front side, one of the laterals, or there are some moves that actually stretch the sort of angular sections of the spine, so like the front right or the back left, and you'll see that over time. So if this roll up is really, really challenging for you, then one of my favorite ways to teach it is bring a heel in. And we start in the same way. The other leg has hamstring and heel to the ground. This one we're not shooting through the air. We're gonna try and glide it on the mat. If you are someone with a little bit sticky skin, that's okay. You can lift off the mat, but just a little, not like way up here. Okay, so breathe in again. And now as you turn on your ignition switch, we also push the heel forward. So it's, and that'll help you. Now, if you're still launching yourself up and your feet are coming off the ground, then this is a good partner to keeping your body down, because you can move a little faster and you can push that heel, and notice the other leg stays down. So again, we want to get past this, but these are movers that help us build those blocks of maybe just keeping the leg down first. And then eventually we're practicing other pieces throughout our time together that turn on this upper core body ignition switch that eventually builds the strength to roll up slower and a little more controlled. Yes, these classes do move fast eventually, but we only want them moving fast if you're moving correctly, not just for the sake of pace. Let's work with this kick of the heel 2 times right and 2 times left. If you don't get all the way up, that's okay. I actually would say it's better to stay here, pushing and not throwing your arms, but keeping your arms in line with your hair and pushing to here and just feeling that effort and then coming back down. Let's try it, and then we'll get to the top, and then we'll look at how rolling down looks. So inhale, do whatever version you can on the way up. All right, and then pause. However you got here, let's get here together and be here, and breathe in as if you had a set of lungs in your low back. And now look at your feet, because a lot of people let this go or they point because it's really hard to stretch the back of the leg. I want you pulling those toes towards your nose, pushing your heels away from you, engaging the thighs as much as you can. And then if I've let you hold that in-breath too long, exhale, let's do it again. Inhale into the low back. And now we're going to knit that ignition switch a little tighter. We also say lift the ribs away from the thighs, but I think that's tricky language. So pause. Saying to lift the ribs away from the thighs might make some of you reverse breathe, right? Like taking an inhale and sucking the belly up. But that's a reverse breath because it's pushing the diaphragm up into the chest, which means it's actually making your lung capacity more shallow, and it's fighting the natural movement of that tissue. So we want to inhale and move that into the back body where your lungs have the lowest lobes. We're actually going to increase your VO2 max over time with this. If you stay with me, I will teach you how to breathe into the back body and really improve that. But then also exhale by that knit shape, which sharpens, takes a lowercase c into a capital C. So let's start at the top, because this is an exercise that we have more than once throughout our practice. So we have this shape here. We're not hanging out in the low back. We really are pulling that tight turtleneck over our arms, over our head, and we inhale into the low back, and then we knit those ribs together a little more. Now hold this shape. Remember that tuck of the bum we did at the very beginning? Let's do that here. So tuck, tuck, tuck your pelvis. You should feel sort of like ladies, a underwire of the butt, an underwire bra of the butt, really turn on. And we can think about also trying to zip up some really tight jeans, pulling the pubic bone to the navel to make that happen. The arms aren't in front of us, they're right by the hairline. And then pause once you feel the back of the hips on the ground and tighten that ignition switch one more time. So that's our roll up. Let's use the left leg to do it. Bring it in, breathe in, Exhale, ignition, switch and push. Good. Breathe into the low back. Exhale, sharpen your C curve. And we reach the seat to the feet. We zip the pubic bone to the nose. We exhale a little more, and we're back down again. So we're only doing a couple of these because this is really about breaking down the maneuvers in our first day together. From our roll up, we move into a one-leg circle, which I think is a misnomer because it's really more of a one-leg oval. Taking your arms to your sides, let's keep the left foot flexed, heel digging into the floor, hamstring digging into the floor. Pull the heel to the bum on the ground using the posterior chain, your hamstring, not your hip flexor, and stretch that right leg to the ceiling. I have a lot of cramps because I've been teaching for a long time today. I definitely need some more electrolytes, so bear with me. The idea here is to keep the knee long, the ankle long, but the toes not crunched, just long. And then we turn out inside the hip socket so that you see the inner thigh. Now the reason this is a misnomer is because we're not trying to actually draw circles on the ceiling or even in space. Because if we draw a circle on the ceiling, that's great. We're inside the hip socket. We're moving with pretty good precision, but we're not letting gravity do its thing. And we are here to let gravity help us move smarter and stronger and more efficiently. But we're also not going as big as we can because look how that makes my pelvis rock around. So instead, we want to think, if I were to drop something really heavy, it would go pretty quick, right? And if I were to pick something up really heavy, it would go kind of slow. Now I'm exaggerating, we don't move that slow in class, but for today's purposes, we will. We'll drop quickly and pick up slowly. So you're gonna feel your inner thigh core and your pelvic floor core activate. Two things, we are not supposed to flatten the back to the ground. Joseph Pilates is an advocate for his method advocates maintaining the neutral or the natural curves of the spine. We call that neutral spine in practice. So we're not trying to flush the lumbar spine to the ground. We want to keep that natural arched lordotic curve and just allow the pelvis to have some mobility inside of it, but not of it. We don't want the boat rocking on the waters. The way to maintain that, one, is by squeezing the standing leg or the left inner thigh, in this case, against the middle as if there were a plane of glass there that we just want it to squeeze against. This top leg is going to cross that bottom leg, and then we have the drop, and then it opens to the outer edge of your mat. Not as far as it can because it carries the hips with it for most of us, but just to the outer edge of your mat or your frame, and then squeeze and lift up. Okay, so that's how we're practicing it today. Not so much more explanation. Let's just know that that's how we're practicing it and move forward together. So our arms are long. We cross the body as much as we can, and then we drop quickly. Now, I see a lot of people move this bottom foot. You know where your foot is in space. And look, what's the worst thing that can happen? If you hit your own toes, okay. But most of us have pretty great awareness of where our body is in space and our body moving in space. So we can utilize that innate gift or those innate gifts to help us keep from hitting ourselves. But if you do, you'll learn pretty quickly where you are in space and not do that again. So arms are long, leg is up, we cross and quick, open, slow. And notice that my knee is not getting softer as I go. It's actually, I'm trying to squeeze my thigh muscle against my bone so that the knee gets a little longer. I'm not trying to hyperextend, dump into the flexibility of straightening my knee, but really strengthen the muscles around it. Let's do one more. Cross, down, around, and up. And now we reverse this. We open to the edge of our frame. It's quick. We cross, and it's slow. Okay, let's go 6, and 5, and 4, and 3, and 2. Good, one more. Excellent. Let's lower it, flatten that back of the leg against the ground, press the heel down, and you might notice this leg feels really long now. And let's drag the other heel in. And if you want to keep the same cadence we just did, then just pause and back the video up, because on this side I'm going to use a traditional class cadence for our one leg, let's call it oval, but you'll hear in an open class one leg circle. Taking this leg up, again, toes aren't crunched, ankles long, we're turned out in the socket, and we cross down, around, and up. Cross down, around, and up. Pretty simple. The right thigh is squeezing that imaginary glass in the middle of your mat, and we keep going here for 5. Pressing the shoulders down, the arms are long, don't let that get lax or the neck will get short. 3, 2, and 1, and let's reverse it. Open a little, cross a lot. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now, if you notice that your pelvis is wobbling all over the place, give it time. Use your inner thighs to maintain that stability, and your pelvic floor core will sort of sneakily come along for the ride and eventually stabilize and keep you from rocking all over the place. Practice will improve, because every time you do something that is sort of coming up to the edge of how you'd even like to see it happen or feel it happen, if you're doing just that bit that you can, then and it feels a little challenging, and maybe push an nth of a degree past that edge where now you've got a shake or a tremble of truth in your body, then eventually that difficult entry point will become easy, and you'll be able to move into the next segment of the movement of the practice. So be patient with yourself. We've had the 100, the roll up, the one leg circle. Now we have rolling like a ball, which is a fun move, but it gets just kind of thrown around in the body. Start on the mat, flexed feet. We're going to do a roll up. So however you need to get there, let's inhale. Maybe you're using a heel to push you. Breathe and ignition switch at the top of your core line, and keep going. Get all the way into that roll up shape. Breathe into your low back. Deepen your C curve, exhale. Now hold. Without picking up a leg, drag a heel in and bring that knee close to your armpit. And do the same on the other side. Notice we're still not in our hip flexors, and that's pretty great stuff. So then we're moving our arms in their socket. We put our hands on our shins. Here's where we need the bottom part of our C curve. We find that underbutt tuck, that I like to call it the wonder butt, like a wonder bra. We get the activation of the glute, the tailbone reaching through the heels, and that starts to rock us back. Now to participate in that, keep using the hamstring, not the hip flexor. Pull the heels in, and you naturally end up on the tip of your tailbone, your toes very light on the mat. But we have to keep all those things active. So we've got a really active upper C curve, a really active tuck lower C curve, and a really active pull of the heels into the hamstrings, and our nose is to our navel. To rock back, few things we see happen in class, a lot of us, teachers, we see the knees come into the chest, and then a push of the legs, or we see people throw their head back, and then they get stuck and they can't get up, and they really have to push with their legs. So think about how we set this up. All the pieces that help us set this up are going to help us maneuver and maintain as we maneuver. Those hamstrings have to keep pulling in. We can't pull them in and kick the leg out at the same time, can we? Only one can be operational. So we have to keep pulling them in. Then the thing that rolls us back, right, this pubic bone to navel, is going to rock us back. And because it's sort of dragging on the lumbar spine and stretching that, we get to breathe in. And that, because there's more space in the lower lobes of the lungs when we stretch the low back, so it's a tuck inhale that takes us back. And then, obviously, we know this is an exhale right here. It's an exhale and ignition switch that rolls us up. That rolls us up in the actual roll up. So of course it's going to do that here. Now, this is I would say intermediate to advanced breakdown understanding, but I think that's really exciting because so many of us do not get this in a studio class, this kind of a breakdown. And so many of us are not getting, maybe we can't afford privates, but we're certainly not getting out of the practice what we hear we can get out of the practice because we don't know this information. And if some of you are contemplating or already going through a Pilates teacher training, this is really valuable information, and it will elevate the way that you teach and the way that you go through your teacher trainings. Let's put that together again. Get into the final pieces of your roll-up, and then we drag. Let's start with the left heel, bring it towards the hamstring, and then the right one. And our knees are pretty close to our armpits, so let's go ahead and start to tuck the pubic bone to the navel, the tailbone to the heels, until you find yourself right at the tip of your tailbone. Keep that activation. We don't just do it and leave it. We do it and we continue as if we could go deeper, 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 deeper. We do the same here with the upper body core. And then we pull the heels into the hamstrings, and the toes get really light. We place our palms, and right here, hamstrings are tight. We're zipping up that pubic bone to the navel a little bit tighter to breathe in and roll back. And then the thing that's getting me up is a deeper C-curve exhale that pushes and moves that energy up and forward, right? So it's tucking, moving the energy up and over, exhaling, moving the energy up and forward. Let's do that again. So inhale and tuck. Exhale and ignition switch. Let's keep going. Let's do 5 more together. And if you're not getting it right now, keep practicing. Maybe slow down, don't move as fast as I do, and keep looking for it. It will come in time. Again. 4. Notice I'm not letting the back of my head slam into the mat. 3. If as you go, you notice you get a little slouchy, just fix it. Get the shoulders out of the ears. 2 more. 1 more. Awesome. So that's sort of the first quarter of the mat practice. And from here we move into our, it's called the ab series.